Hello, and welcome to today's session. See results in 2022, why a voice solution should be your priority. This session will discuss the magnitude of today's labor availability and order fulfillment challenges, and how these pressures are driving the need to increase productivity in operations. My name is Roberto Michel. I'm Senior Editor for Modern Materials Handling magazine, and I'll be your host for this session, being brought to you by EPG, a provider of supply chain execution software, including WMS, TMS, and warehouse control, as well as its Lydia voice solution. Also on board for this session is a partner of EPG's, Mountain Leverage, a company that focuses on deploying voice-directed picking and workflow solutions. Through this session, you'll gain insights into how voice solutions align with productivity objectives and the type of improvements you can expect to gain from voice. Our presenters will explain how voice solutions work, the wearable devices involved, how voice integrates with existing business systems, and how voice directly benefits frontline workers by keeping them hands-free, productive, accurate, and engaged with their work. To explain these issues in depth, we are joined by Gary Glessner, Business Development Lead for Mountain Leverage, and Ryan Absil, EPG's Senior Director of Voice Solutions. Gary has many years of experience helping companies deploy voice solutions and getting the most from them, as does Ryan. They can explain more on what their respective companies can help you accomplish during our presentation. Before we do begin, a quick housekeeping note for the audience. We'll have time for a short Q&A session after our conversation, so please make sure to submit your questions at any time using the feature for that on the session platform. We'll get to a few questions after our presentation, but if we don't get to your question, we'll move it over to our presenters, and they'll be able to respond to you via email following this event. With that, welcome to you all, and please take it away, Gary.
Thank you, Roberto. We've got, I think, a very relative agenda for everyone today. We're going to start by touching on the pressure that we know everyone out there is on as the new year begins and results have to be achieved. I'm going to cover how voice rises to that challenge and can significantly deliver results and within this calendar year. I'm going to then turn it over to Ryan, who's going to talk about some of the great advances in voice technology and how it shines brighter than ever today, along with some of the very nice seamless integration features, again, that contribute to these projects not taking many months and producing results in the near term. And then most importantly, of course, at the end, we'll talk about how you can engage Mountain Leverage as a solution provider of the technology to get started and achieve real results this year. Just a little background from each of us about our respective companies, just for context. Mountain Leverage is proud to be an industry leader in the design and implementation and support of voice-directed picking and workflow solutions. Having recently acquired a company called Speech Interface Design in November of last year that did the same thing. Collectively, Mountain Leverage now is got more experience and expertise than ever. About 200 customers using voice on over 15,000 mobile devices. We take great pride in our customer service and do total turnkey solutions, engaging with a highly consultative process to help you understand the value of voice, and for those who implement, doing the customization, implementation, and 24/7 support. Ryan, would you like to cover a little bit about EPG?
Thanks, Gary. EPG, as called out at the introduction, is leading provider of software for the supply chain execution space. This does include, but not limited to, our Lydia voice platform, which we'll talk to extensively today. Also, our warehouse management system called LFS, and our transport management solutions, just to name a few. With close to 2,000 international customers, we have almost 500,000 daily users operating on Lydia and continues to grow each day. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So we talked about the pressure being on. I don't think you can read an article about supply chain these days without reading about labor being one of the key challenges. And obviously the data point here at the bottom is key, with a lot of the skilled managers soon to retire and leave the workforce. The other challenge, of course, is workers in distribution centers and fulfillment centers increasingly are diverse and speak a variety of languages. The good news being that voice can address both of those. And I guess the best news of all is the one at the top, where today's younger workforce in particular is quite savvy and comfortable with voice interaction. So what we're seeing is that voice solutions really help attract labor, provide the job satisfaction that allows retention, which, as we all know, are super important in this market. Now, layer on top of all of the labor shortages and challenges these other supply chain pressures that are just expected as we move forward. I'm not going to need to spend any time here because I know you're very, very familiar with all of them. What I would like to focus on is how voice rises to the challenge, specifically with regards to labor. Voice really from the get-go was all about the worker user experience. And again, them being familiar with the technology from consumer grade products, and Ryan will definitely talk later about how the Lydia system is different than those, certainly contributes to this as being something that they will pick up. I will later give you an example of how a voice system works so that you can get a sense of how easy this is to follow and why workers have dramatically reduced training times. The superior ergonomics, you can see even the tagline that Mountain Leverage has, the hands-free, eyes-free company. You'll see and hear that again. It's through that hands-free, eyes-free freedom that workers totally enjoy doing what they're doing without having to hold a device, look at a piece of paper, interact with a keypad, and we'll share results as to how that benefits you as a business. And as I mentioned earlier, the dramatically reduced training time, we often see workers up and running productively within a day or two versus potentially a week or two with other solutions. Accuracy, as we all know, is paramount. Obviously, the hands-free, eyes-free contributes to the fact that there are no distractions. That's what we've determined over time. The market has proven itself that when a worker is distracted looking at a device, looking at a piece of paper, that's where the opportunity for errors comes in. Obviously, heads-up safety is something we hear about from customers all the time. Increasingly with e-commerce, mistakes cannot be made. Everything has to be accurate. And the final point is we've actually had great success with COVID. Some of you may be wondering, with the mask mandates, does the voice recognition still work? And the answer is absolutely, it does. And as a company, we've had several very successful implementations during COVID as a data point for all of you. In terms of how it works, just a simple graphic here. The worker is downloaded the pick assignment such that they are simply given a number of the pick face where they need to make the pick. They arrive there. They respond with typically a 2 or 3 digit check digit. Those digits can be made dynamic so that they can be changed on a pick by pick basis, a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Obviously, they cannot be remembered. As soon as the check digit is confirmed, the system instructs how many to pick, and then the worker confirms the pick quantity and moves on. It really puts the worker in a zone or a rhythm and allows this to be achieved, which is really the business case and one of the key pillars of the benefits of voice. Beyond all the labor benefits that we've talked about, it's the operational efficiency, it's the productivity improvement that you're going to see by combining what are typically discrete events, as shown above for a handheld device, or in even a paper and pencil pick list scenario. With voice, you're able to walk as you hear, respond with check digits as you approach the slot. So you effectively combine these steps and reduce the time at the pick face. And it's by seconds and fractions of seconds that we will count and monetize for you. But while scanning is a perfectly efficient way to capture a barcode as part of a pick process, a scanner typically has a handle, a screen, and a keypad. And anytime a worker who is to make a pick of a product in a distribution center has to interact with any of those three, it's non-productive time. And that is what yields the value of voice. Why do over 1 million people in the world today use voice in warehouses? Because voice is the only technology that can deliver the first two circles that you see here without compromise. There's no benefit of improving productivity if you can't achieve near perfect accuracy and vice versa. Because we empower your workers to be hands-free, eyes-free, voice optimizes both, and that is the fundamental value that has been realized by the many, many, many companies out there that have been using it. And as we talked about earlier, the worker benefits are significant in terms of retention, and the reduction in training time dramatic as another business benefit. I'm going to look forward to coming back and talking with you about how to get started with such an investigation into the value of voice. But I'm going to now turn it over to Ryan to have him share with you the latest updates on how voice today is shining brighter than ever.
Great. Thanks again, Gary. I'm excited to talk through a short history of voice recognition. So Lydia, like all original voice recognizers, initially used a speaker-dependent recognition engine and was known as dependent as it was dependent on specific user and required template creation and training time. Really, this all resulted in lost time from an operation perspective, especially when considering that templates usually had to be redone, if not twice, potentially a few times. And it's really that this requirement for template creation that represents that first generation of voice technology, where there were no other options other than speaker dependent. In early 2000s is when EPG saw the opportunities in moving to newer speaker independent solutions, as we believe that using natural language recognition and moving away from those templates would be the future state of voice in the supply chain. And as one of the first voice vendors to provide speaker independent for our customers, it certainly came with challenges and learning opportunities. This second generation of technology, but first generation of speaker independent, was prone to misrecognitions or recognition substitutions, what we call where a environment noise accidentally triggers an application command. And additionally, as early generations of recognition engines were based on defined speech models, having successful recognition rates across diverse speakers in the US market with various accents and dialects also presented challenges. This oftentimes actually resulted in implementations running a mix of speaker independent and dependent. And it's really with the latest Lydia recognition and through the utilization of neural networks that these previous challenges have been addressed at the technology core. deep learning has allowed for greater variation handling, a must really when it comes to the recognition of different speech patterns that can be found from user to user. And it's this improved recognition handling that means operations are staying busy on order fulfillment and actual warehouse or logistics work, and not recognition troubleshooting. And while the latest recognition from Lydia is now more than capable of handling different dialects and accents, which was a clear challenge from our second generation, it is the continued use of natural languages that has led us built up to over 50 different languages available, allowing Lydia users in the end to operate in their preferred language. And all of these have really made voice template training a thing of the past. And Lydia is not the first recognition engine to use neural networks and deep learning, as general home voice assistant devices such as Alexa and Google Home have taken full advantage of similar technology. Whereas these devices utilize cloud-based recognition servers, the Lydia recognition operates completely locally on a mobile device. So this results in much better response times, faster response times, and less network requirements. Additionally, not all recognition engines are built for the noise that can come with logistics or production or manufacturing environments like Lydia is. So this slide illustrates actually the ability for Lydia to reach the required measure for a successful recognition, what is known as a confidence threshold, at a much higher percentage as compared to other recognition engines on the market, and including our own pre-neural network recognizer. Really one of the first callouts from voice users who are transitioning to Lydia from other vendors has been the vast improvement in recognition performance. Even within the first few minutes of usage, it's a clear differentiator with Lydia recognition engine as compared to others. And the superior recognition from Lydia is really only just one of the factors adding to the overall value. A more attractive cost of ownership just allows for quick ROIs with small user counts. But at the same time, an enterprise-based architecture presents no limitations with customers of ours that run 5,000, 6,000 users and more across numerous DCs across the country or across the globe. Our own hardware offer plays a key role in that overall lower cost of ownership, and EPG is always looking for innovative solutions, and the voiceware allows operators to work headset-free, so having the required hardware components simply strapped to the body, as you can see on this user. Additionally, efficient interfaces and flexible product design allows for design and completion within weeks period and not across months. The Lydia suite includes additional applications and tools aside just from the actual production application. The Lydia Warehouse Intelligence, or LWI, is a tool accessed via a simple browser and presents valuable information for operational and technical support personnel. Information such as recognition performance, right down to the user and the specific command, along with devices, Wi-Fi signal strength, and host system response times. These are just a few of the key pieces of information that can be tracked and monitored within the LWI. And it's getting this information and being able to set alerts around it means that any potential issue at the user or at the infrastructure level can be seen and addressed before actually being reported from the end user themselves. And LWI users themselves can actually go into a dialogue history and look up a specific time frame to review the exchange between Lydia and the voice user. So certainly a great tool. When it comes to integration for a voice project, there's various forms to consider. Certainly data integration plays a key role, as it always does, in how two systems will talk to each other. But other types of integration to consider are just integration into a customer's device infrastructure, into their device network, as well as integration into the workforce. As Lydia is capable of running on a large selection of devices, a customer's current RF unit can even be a viable option to run Lydia if just a Bluetooth headset is introduced. And deployment of Lydia applications can very easily be done via MDM tools such as SODI or AirWatch or Avalanche. As a complete end-to-end voice provider, EPG does include our hardware option, our Voxter device, and along with this rugged Android device, the VoiceWare also provides a unique experience with no standard headset required, as called out earlier. When it comes down to the data integration, the Lydia platform comes with flexible interfaces around standard technologies, and in the end can be driven by preferences of a host system or a WMS. Our capabilities with SAP are really less of an integration and more of function enablement. But really, regardless of the WMS or host system, Lydia is capable of various interface methods. We find that while older socket methods are still being utilized, our customers are moving more and more to newer web service REST API-based approaches. And perhaps sometimes the most challenging, integrating Lydia with the workforce and giving tools to super users and trainers that allow for effective onboarding and application support really plays a key role in project go-lives and continued success. The Lydia Copilot tool provides this by allowing for remote connection to an active voice user, letting a supervisor listen in real time to the exchange between Lydia and the user, along with following screen-based text. And this connectivity is all via Wi-Fi, so supervisors do not have to be near the user and can be in another aisle, another part of the warehouse, or from a support standpoint, even another part of the country or the world. Feedback to the user can be given real time via text messages or via a telephone-like function. And flexible license models for our partners, like Mountain Leverage, allow them to select the correct approach or the best approach for their end clients, really offering various forms of license options, guarantees that the best approach can be found for each individual customer. Lydia handles licensing at a server level with a total user pool count, so this makes device replacements, device backups, and even device upgrades very, very easy to handle. And really the best way to put Lydia to the test and try out the recognition for yourself is via our demo application available at the Google Play Store. Multiple languages are available for the demo and will illustrate the recognition capabilities that I've spoken about today, as it guides you through a fake order list for picking. It really is a great way to get a feel for the Lydia recognition engine. And with that, we'll hand it back to Gary, as Mountain Leverage operates as our complete solution provider for voice. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks very much, Ryan. You know, beyond the licensing flexibility that you offer us, it's that technology and those tool sets that you just mentioned that really empower us to make these projects as easy and as quick as possible, as well as customized to really deliver as much value as possible. So my final slide here is in call to action is really just one slide. It's reach out to us. We're coming to you early in January with the hope that you won't let this month go by. Reach out as early in Q1 as possible to us. We're going to want to talk to you and be able to accomplish an awful lot in an introductory phone call. But fundamentally, our engagement process is really highly consultative. We're really wanting to be a consultative extension of your team on your side of the table. We want to help you answer two fundamental questions through what we call a value and ROI analysis and a deliverable that we'll send you as a result of our work with you. By how much will a voice-directed work solution reduce your annual operating costs? We're going to quantify that for you. And then how quickly will your investment to deploy that solution pay for itself? Again, we've got different licensing models. There's all kinds of flexibility that we can bring to you to allow you, whether a voice project may not be budgeted or whether given the very compelling savings and ROI that this analysis shows, it may in fact be prioritized ahead of other projects that were planned but may not be as compelling. We certainly know that we've worked with a lot of customers who've moved these projects forward. They've implemented them in months, and they've been able to achieve results within a year if they start in Q1 early in the year. So that's why we're reaching out. Please reach out to us. Let us be a consultative extension of your team to empower you to champion this effort to see where such a project would fall in your priority stack. But certainly from our experience, it is going to help your labor issues and most importantly, help you deal with all those other pressures by improving productivity and saving costs as you move forward with 2022. So with that, Roberto, I'm going to turn it back to you to see if we have any questions coming in here in the next few minutes.
Yes. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Ryan, for your presentations. I learned some new things, and I really do think there's some eagerness in the industry to make some gains this year on productivity. So we do have some questions that came in. I'll start with you, Ryan. This first one is really kind of a two-parter. I don't use a WMS. Can my ERP host system work with voice is the first part of that question.
Yeah, and the quick answer is yes. We have several customers, several projects where a WMS is not even in the picture, and we are simply working direct with an ERP or even a simple database, a homegrown database, but a WMS is absolutely not required for voice implementation.
Okay, and the second part of that was I have to capture a product barcode as part of my picking process. Would it still make sense to investigate the use of voice?
Roberto, I'm gonna jump in on that one because
okay,
it's a great question. We actually worked with a company a while back who needed to capture barcode, was using a, I think, wearable scanner in this case, and ended up replacing hundreds of them in 3 different sites with a purpose-built voice device. Still contained a ring scanner, but again, the scanning was made more ergonomic. And the real surprise for this company was the value and cost savings that voice was able to generate simply by eliminating those screen looks, the keypad presses, and the touching of the device. So absolutely, if you need to capture a scan of a barcode through the pick process, bring that opportunity to us. Let us run the numbers and show you just how compelling voice enabling that process is. We're actually currently working with another large client at the moment where it's very likely that they're going to maintain their wearable Android device that already has an ergonomic scanner, and we're just going to layer voice on top of it, add a headset, and they're looking at an ROI right now that it's well under 12 months for such a solution. So very excited about that. I'll also just, Roberto, add one thing to Ryan's answer to the first question. Beyond all the great technology and solutions that EPG provides, just to call out that Mountain Leverage, ourselves as a company, have honed a middleware solution called Opsware Connect. And what we find is that it is often a desired solution, particularly for ease of integration and or visibility purposes, and it allows each user to configure custom screens and have a great handle on what's going on inside the distribution center. So if the WMS or the host system is not very sophisticated, we can actually do grouping and batching within the middleware and really deliver value. And we've done that many times.
Okay, that's interesting. That's part of the productivity boost, I suppose. For this next question, I'll turn it to you, Ryan. How many different languages are supported? I think I saw a note on that in one of the slides, but how many different languages do you support?
Yeah, it's using natural language recognition. It is important that we have a wide range of language options available. At this point, we have just over 50 language models available to support both recognition and also the text-to-speech output, and have a full list available for reference upon request.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. I suppose a lot of times you'll have a facility where the frontline workers might be using, there might be 3 or 4 different languages used in the DC.
Most certainly. We have several DCs that will use a mix and match of languages. Most common in the U.S. has been American English, Latin Spanish, and even a few with French Canadian. But the ability to mix and match languages all within one facility is a powerful tool of Lydia.
Oh, okay. Gary, we have time for one final question. And I think this was also mentioned in your presentations. Will background noise in my DC be too high for voice to work, say if you're like near conveyor sortation or something on the noisy side?
Yes, Roberto. Ryan mentioned that this is one of the key differences between industrial-grade voice systems such as Lydia and what we've seen in consumer devices. And the ability to block out that background noise is quite frankly nothing short of remarkable. I can think of one old distribution center building in South Chicago that was turned into a freezer with, of all the DCs I've been in personally, the loudest freezer fans I've ever heard when you were directly under them. It was the first time in my career that I really wondered. But they have been using voice successfully for years. It just goes to show there's nothing too loud because of this technology. So not at all anything to fear with regard to that background noise.
Okay, great. That does wrap up our Q&A here. And so I want to thank you for answering those questions, Gary and Ryan, and for your presentations. And to our audience for tuning in. And also, I wanted to mention that we do have another EPG-sponsored webcast coming up on voice, and that will be about learn about how adding robotics can expand on the value of voice. So, tune in for that session. Keep an eye out for that session if you're interested in how robotics and people and voice can work together. That does conclude our session. Thanks again for watching and listening.